Okay, this is Andrew. We're going to do a quick walkthrough of the initial web page for assignment 1 in IS 430 web programming. So basically, you should have been through this. All you're really doing is creating an initial website using XAMPP. Okay, so let's just say you've been through most of this. Let's just do a quick review. Basically, you're going to open this JSON file right here. The JSON file looks like this. This is the actual format. Let me go ahead and zoom in there. So this is the actual format. This is a pretty standardized format, and it's often used in web pages these days, is JSON. So once your web page should look something like this. Okay, it depends on what kind of CSS you add, but after it reads in the JSON file and prints it out, it should look something like that. And we're going to work through that. So hopefully you took a crack at assignment 1 and you either got it perfect or you got it close, and this video is going to work out the rest of the issues for you. Okay, so first thing you want to do is know what a client and a server is. So let's just quickly go over what a client and a server is. So in your life, everybody uses client computers, okay? Most of you are just using client computers. Unless you're working as a job, an IT job for a company, you're mostly only going to see client computers. All right, so what is a server computer? Okay, the computer is the same. It's just the operating system that you load on it. Like, for example, you have Windows 7 and Windows 10. They're just different operating systems. Well, you also have a Windows Server 2012, which is a server software. And you just load that onto your computer and it becomes a server. Okay, well, that's great, you say, but really, what is a server? Well, I like to think of a server like this. Okay, so you have this McDonald's here in this drive-through window, and let's just say it's open 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's always open. You can drive up anytime you want, okay, and you can be served whatever they have in there. This McDonald's is the server, and you're the client, right? So you can drive up to the window anytime you're ready, when it's convenient for you, and they're always open. They're always waiting for you to serve you whatever it is you want, as long as they have it. Of course, not every server has everything, so we have different servers. So you might have a KFC, you can drive up there and you can get, chicken, mashed potatoes, whatever they have at this server. So basically, you have different servers. They're all computers. You driving up in the car is a client software operating system on a computer. This KFC is just a server software on a computer, and the McDonald's is just a different server software. So, okay, good enough. But what's the point of that? Well, in your life up to this point, you've probably done a lot of HTML and CSS, but you've done it on right here on your computer, your client computer. Well, you have to understand, go back and look at the window. One of the most important concepts to understand is PHP is a server-side software. It's inside this McDonald's server computer, okay? You're here. You're here. You can't run PHP on your client computer. Okay, you just can't do it because you're a client. They're in there. The PHP is in the server. So what you have to do is download the XAMPP, right? And that's going to allow you to run an Apache server on your computer such that you can develop PHP right there on your client computer. Okay? It's not a published web page. It's just letting you, it's a development environment. Okay, so that's an important thing to remember now. So the first thing you have to do then is, I'm sure all of you have done that, is download XAMPP. Okay, download XAMPP, which is what I've done, and put that on your computer. And then after you've done that, you want to open it and make sure you push start. You want to run the Apache server and the MySQL. Okay, so once you're running Apache server, you can now use your computer as a development environment. So let's go over here let's look first at how the folders are organized, okay? So let's just look at your folders. Let's go to your C, okay, your C drive. Now here's your XAMPP. Go into that. Now look for your HT docs. Go into that. Okay, yours should be blank unless you've already done some projects for this course, which probably you have been playing around with it at this point. Okay, so let's say, for example, that we have this. Now, when you open your Notepad++, okay, it should look like this. Let me see. Okay, let me see if I can make this text a little bigger for you. Okay, so open it. This you should have seen a million times, right? The um, regular HTML. I'm saying document type, and then I'm doing the header. So it's my movies. Style, right now there's no style. Close the header, and then the body, and then the header, my favorite movies, and body. Okay, so we should be able to run this guy, right? So let's save it. We're going to save it right here. Now here's the thing. You can run this HTML on your server software, but you can't run a PHP on a client software. So, oh, the first thing, let's go here. All right, choose language. Now go, let's choose PHP. Okay, so this will automatically now save as a PHP file if we like. Or we can choose language and let's just choose HTML. Okay, for now, let's choose HTML. Okay, so we're going to save it. File, save as, we'll just call it HTML example, and we'll save it right here in the examp htdocs folder. Okay, so let's make sure we're in that folder, which I don't think we are. Now we are. Okay, so here it is. Okay, here it is. So it's under, so what you got to understand here is anything under this htdocs folder, your Apache server development environment sees. Anything outside of that folder, it doesn't see. So if I save this on my desktop, well, it will run because it's HTML, but if it's a PHP file, it won't run in XAMPP. Okay, so let's go ahead. Now look at this document. Let's go ahead and run it. Call up your environment here. Okay, we'll just do a new tab and do localhost. All right, localhost puts you right here. That's where you are now. When you say localhost, you're right here. See, you see old and HTML example right here. Okay, so you're in this folder, the htdocs folder when you type localhost. Now, if I want to go into one of these, I can click on it, or I can also backslash and type it in. So if I want to say HTML example, H, sorry about that, HTML example dot HTML, and I click enter, then it runs this file. Okay, so it ran that. You see that. It ran it. My favorite movies. You have your header up here on my movies, and then in the body you have my favorite movies. All right, great job. All right, so let's extend this into PHP. So what we can do is we can embed PHP directly into this HTML. Okay, so it's going to look like this. Well, that could be confusing. So let's pull this out and we'll look at them separately. We'll look at the changes. Okay. Okay, so here's the HTML example. So first thing we want to do is now we're in the PHP world. So go to your language. So what we're doing is we're modifying this just by adding PHP. And in the red, you can see where PHP has been added, right? That's all we're doing. So up here in the initial part of the program, we're adding PHP, which is JSON data, and I gave you these. Basically, all this is doing is opening the JSON file and storing it into a variable. Okay, so now what we want to do is add style, right? So we want to add PHP include movies.css. Well, we haven't actually created our CSS file. It's right here. but we'll get to that in a minute. So just add this. All this does is it opens the CSS file and skins your web page with that CSS. Okay. So now let's zip on down here to the body, and you're adding this for loop. All right, let's go ahead and look at the movies file. Okay, let's make this guy a little smaller. Um, okay, so this is the JSON file, right, that I gave to you. So basically, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces in this. Let's call it object or variable, whatever, right now called movies. Okay, so you can see here, let's just do one. So let's just look at the first one. All we're looking at is title, year, genre, director, Godfather 72, drama, Francis Ford Coppola. So, okay, first thing we want to do is print out the movie, okay, and then title. Okay, so when you print title, and then here you're going to print year. So it's just literally printing year and a colon, and then it's going to print the year, which this 1972 associates with this variable year. Okay, Godfather associates with this title, and drama associates with genre, and Francis Ford Coppola associates with director. So it's going to print out director and then whatever in this variable here. And then all it's going to do is for each, it's just going to loop through this as many times as you have elements in this object. So it's just going to do this one, then it's going to do this one, and this one, and this one. So you get the idea. It's really pretty simple. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the code then. All right, so go back to the HTML, and you see all we did was add this PHP loop right here. That's all we did. We added it right here. And all we did was add the include movies right here. That's all we did. We embedded some PHP right here. We embedded some PHP right here. Okay, so then initially at the top, we just put this PHP here, and all this does is open the file and store the data to a variable. Okay, so then in that variable for JSON, you want to loop through all the elements. We talked about that. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then basically you're printing out movies, year, genre, director, and then you're printing out the actual value in the variable. Okay, so that should be pretty simple. Okay, so now what we want to do is let's run this. Okay, now the problem with running this is what? You have to be on a server side because it has PHP in it. So you have to put this in your HTTP docs folder. It won't work if you're not in your HTTP docs folder. Okay, so here's your HTTP docs folder. And let's just for fun save it as index. Okay, so index.php. Now, is there anything we missed? Well, we didn't really discuss the CSS, and I'm not going to discuss CSS too much in this class, but let's go ahead and look at it quickly. Okay, open your notepad. Okay, here we go. So I just borrowed some CSS files from you guys. Here's one from one student and another from another student. Okay, so if you look, this is calling movies.css. So let's save movies.css into this folder as well, into our HTTP docs folder. Okay, so you can see I'm in my HTTP docs folder. There's the movies. Okay, so now basically this is what you have. All right, let's get rid of the HTML. Let's just throw it in the old, because uh, we're not using HTML. We're using PHP. We only did that as an example to show you how we can move from one to the other. Okay, so now what let's do is let's run it. Okay, so come back to your web browser. Let's go here and go to your local host. Okay, you're on your local host, and um, it automatically ran movies.css. I mean index.php, and then it called right here. You can see it called movies.css. But what is the problem? Well, there's no JSON file in here, right? So we got to put the JSON file in there. So let's do that. So here's your movies JSON. Here's your JSON file. And let's save as a JSON. And let's put that in the HTTP docs as well. Save. Okay. So good job. Now so if you look at this is what you want to turn in, right? You have this index movies.css and JSON in one folder. So basically what you would do is you would copy this ht docs folder, zip it, and send it to me, okay? So now go to, let's run it and see if it worked now that we put that in there. Okay, so there you go. Now I just want to do a quick thing. Let's apply a different CSS. So if you come over here, here's style. Let's save that. It's just a different, it's just going to skin it different. So let's save the style. Okay, style.css. But don't forget, you have to go back to here and where the heck is the code? Oh, it's separate. Okay, so you have to go back to here and change this to style. And we should get a different, it should open with a different CSS, hopefully. Okay, so you just run the local host. Go ahead and run that, and you see that it opened now this style CSS instead of the movie CSS. Okay, so you get the idea. Put everything in this folder, zip it to me. At CityU, we are supposed to be putting stuff on the server using FTP. Some of you have mentioned about that, but for now, we're skipping that, and I'm doing it for you because you guys already got enough to do. All right, hang in there. Good job working through this first project. Walk through this code and make sure you understand it up to this point. All right, thanks a lot.